Lesson 2. Pro Diagnostics. Software glitches versus hardware failure. The technician's golden rule. Hello everyone, welcome back to the GSM Comfort channel. If you are new here, this training series is designed to help you become a professional smartphone repair technician. In our previous lesson, we talked about the basics of phone repair and understanding smartphone components. But today, we are going to learn something extremely important. Something that separates professional technicians from people who just guess repairs. Today's topic is called diagnostic triage. Now let me ask you a question. Have you ever seen a technician open a phone immediately, without even checking the software? Maybe they replaced the screen, but the problem is still there. Why? Because the issue was never hardware in the first place. It was software. This is why every professional technician follows one golden rule. Never open a phone until you know exactly what the problem is. Let me repeat that again. Never open a phone until you are sure whether the problem is software or hardware. Think about this situation. A customer brings you a phone. The screen keeps flickering, so you quickly replace the screen. But after installing a new display, the screen is still flickering. Now what happens? You just wasted time. You wasted a spare part. And you may even lose money. So here is today's goal. By the end of this lesson, you will learn how to answer one critical question before starting a repair. Is this a software problem or a hardware failure? And once you know the answer, your repair success rate will increase dramatically. So let's start by understanding the first category. Software glitches. Now let's talk about software issues. Software issues are extremely common in Android phones. But here is the key characteristic of software problems. They are usually intermittent. That means they don't happen all the time. They come and go. Let me ask you something. Have you ever used a phone that suddenly becomes very slow? Maybe the screen freezes, apps take a long time to open, but after restarting the phone, everything works fine again. What do you think causes that? In most cases, this is not a hardware problem. It is a software glitch, usually caused by too many background apps, a corrupted cache, or a buggy system update. Another common software issue is app crashes. For example, imagine Instagram keeps closing every time you open it, but WhatsApp works perfectly. You can make calls. You can browse the internet. Everything else works normally. So what does that tell us? It tells us the phone hardware is fine. The problem is only the application. Now here is another example. Sometimes a phone may get stuck on the brand logo during startup. This is called a boot loop. Boot loops are often caused by corrupted system files, failed software updates, or improper flashing. But there is one powerful trick technicians use to confirm software problems, and that trick is called safe mode. Safe mode disables all third-party applications. Only the system apps remain active. So here is the test. If the phone works perfectly in safe mode, then the issue is caused by a third-party app, not the hardware. Let me ask you a quick question. If a phone works perfectly in safe mode, would you replace the motherboard? Of course not, because the hardware is working perfectly. Now that we understand software problems, let's move to the second category, hardware failures. Warning signs of hardware failure. Visual screen with LCD bleeding and ghost touch demonstration. Now let's talk about hardware problems. Unlike software glitches, hardware failures are usually consistent. They happen every time. And most of the time, hardware damage happens after a physical event. For example, the phone was dropped, the phone got wet, or the phone was crushed in a pocket. Let's start with one of the most obvious examples. Display damage. Have you ever seen a screen with purple or black ink spots? This is called LCD bleeding. It looks like ink spreading under the glass. This type of damage is 100% hardware failure. No software update can fix that. The only solution is display replacement. Another example is something called ghost touch. This is when the phone starts touching things by itself. Apps open randomly. The screen scrolls without touching it. Sometimes ghost touch is caused by software, but many times it is caused by damaged touch sensors, especially after a phone drop. Now let's talk about battery problems. Imagine a phone battery drops from 100% to 50% in just 1 hour, or the phone suddenly shuts down at 30%. What could cause that? Most likely, the battery cells are worn out. That is a physical failure. Another warning sign is a bulging battery. If the back cover of the phone starts lifting, or the screen slightly pops out, this means the battery is swelling. This is dangerous and must be replaced immediately. But sometimes, hardware damage is not visible. The phone may look perfect on the outside, but inside, there may be a tiny crack on the motherboard. So how do professional technicians detect hidden hardware problems? The answer is diagnostic menus. The pro's secret: hidden diagnostic menus. Here is a secret many beginners don't know. Most Android phones have hidden diagnostic menus. These menus allow technicians to test hardware components without opening the phone. Let's start with Samsung phones. If you open the dialer and type *#0*#, the phone will open a diagnostic test menu. Inside this menu you can test screen colors, touchscreen, sensors, and more. Camera, vibration, speakers. This helps you quickly identify if a component is damaged. Now let's look at Xiaomi phones. On Xiaomi devices you can dial *#64663 #*#. This opens the QC hardware test menu. This menu allows testing of display, touch, microphone, proximity sensor, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth. Now here is another extremely important code. Dial *#06#. This code displays the IMEI number. Let me ask you something important. What happens if the IMEI shows null or unknown? That means the phone may have a baseband issue or motherboard issue, not just a signal problem. This is often caused by corrupted modem software, damaged baseband chip, incorrect flashing. This is why diagnostics are critical before starting repairs. Troubleshooting without data loss, repair mode. Now let's talk about something extremely important for professional technicians: customer data protection. When a customer gives you their phone, it contains personal information, photos, messages, banking apps, private data. So you must be careful while testing the device. Fortunately, modern Android phones have something called repair mode. Repair mode creates a temporary system profile. This profile hides all the customer's personal data, but still allows technicians to test hardware. For example, camera, Wi-Fi. Screen, sensors. On Google Pixel phones, you can find this option by going to Settings, System, Repair Mode. On Samsung devices, it is called Maintenance Mode. You can find it under Device Care, Maintenance Mode. Once activated, the phone restarts into a clean testing environment. Now here is the important part. If the phone works perfectly in repair mode, then the problem is inside the customer's apps or data, not the hardware. But if the issue continues even in repair mode, then you are likely dealing with a hardware failure. And this helps you make the correct repair decision, without guessing, without wasting time, and without damaging the customer's phone. Lesson: I want to ask you a quick question. As a technician, what is the first thing you should do before opening a phone? That's right. Diagnose the problem first, software or hardware. Once you master this skill, your repair accuracy will improve dramatically. If you found this lesson helpful, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. because in the next lesson, we will learn how to prepare your PC to communicate with any Android device, regardless of the chipset.